indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Preble Town Board meeting of August 14th, 2017. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes of July 10th?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Jane?
Dog control, July report, 3 dogs running at large, 1 licensed and 2 unlicensed. Justice report, I called Donna today and she gave me 22,000 and she didn't know the rest of the figures, so.
Okay. Jeff, highway report?
Yep. Had 2 things. Course is a shop. I can have that later. And the other thing, I've been getting complaints about the Palm Lake Road project. And I talked to Don Fisher earlier, and I'm going to put something on the website that it's not anything to do with the town of Preble. It's a county project. And I believe they put salt brine on it today, which should help keep the dust down. But, if you are talking to anybody, make sure they understand it's not our project. Hopefully it'll be better when it's done, but right now it's a kind of a mess.
So we have residents of Preble calling you about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazingly, they get me on a weekend, and amazingly the county doesn't have, they can't get anybody at the county, so. Yeah, that's what it is. Just help me set the record straight if you would.
And did you mention, are you going to wait with the highway garage?
Yeah, I think you got it later on.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We talked about that. Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Okay, recreation. Renee?
A couple of different things going on here. I talked to Rebecca from the Cortland County. She was the head of the youth program grant that we had applied for. We're receiving $1,750 for that. Documents have been sent in, final signatures have been taken care of. So funding will be dispensed once everything is finalized and documented and whatnot. She'll get a hold of me for the funding on that. Our bottle and can drive has had a couple of issues, but currently I collected the money today. We had $327.71 for the second half of July up to now. Add that with our $89.10 that we had previously. We're doing pretty well that. Thanks for everybody who's helped with that. Still working on getting the bathrooms ADA compliant. More details on that. Talked to a couple people in regards to the roof and what we need to do inside. Contacted our lowest bidder in regards to the repairs on the pavilion roof. We're going to be actually looking at September and October when the pavilion's not being used for that. The kitchen's had a couple of issues this summer. Should have been a couple invoices for repairs on that. The other thing, when I was talking to Rick about the roof and the repairs needed to be done on that, we don't have a second fire exit when individuals and families are using the pavilion when they're shutting the doors. It's been recommended that the door closest to the kitchen be framed in and an actual door be put in so that there's a second fire exit at all times in there. I have been telling people when they've rented the pavilion to make sure that they leave that one door open at all times. So we have a second fire exit there. Mowing's been kept up with overall. Special thanks to some people in the community, Daly, Jeff and Heather for doing some weed eating around various areas that haven't been taken care of. So greatly appreciate that. Old Timers Band was here. Those that attended had a really nice time. Some communication errors in terms of advertising. So next year, just go ahead and place an ad in the Portland Standard for them since some other avenues didn't take and happen. A couple of issues with the website, but we're working on that. Seems to be working pretty smooth now. For the youth program, we've had about 45 total youth participate this year. Averages 27 to 30 kids a day. All our field trips are complete. We've only had one that rained out this year. Worked well with Tully this year. We've gone swimming 3 different times, gone to the library 3 different times. Thanks to the volunteers who have giving up their time to spend with us. Family picnic is this Thursday night, starting at 6 o'clock. We'll do our annual our awards and dinner with them. Youngest was 18 months and our oldest was 16 this year that participated, so we had a really nice range of needs. So, and then I have a couple other things I want to talk about, but I'm going to leave them for open
Okay,
discussion.
thanks a lot, Renee. County Legislature, Don is not here. Jane?
Zoning and code, 3 building permits issued, 97 miles traveled for the town, 18 building inspections, 43 hours worked, 2 fire inspections, 14 complaint follow-ups, 32 telephone inquiries. Planning board meeting is August 23rd, Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And ZBA meeting is September 7th at 7:30. That's on a Thursday.
Thanks, Jane. Town historian is not here tonight. Wayne?
We collected $605, dispersed $587 to the town of Preble, and $18 to New York State Egg and Market.
At this time, we'll begin with new business. We have a committee that has been working on solar and wind energy farms, the possibility of them coming to Preble. And Al Sosha has been heading up that committee. Al, could you?
Hi, so
Update us.
I'm Al Sosha. I'd like to introduce proposed law A for 2017 to amend our current 2014 zoning ordinance of the town of Preble, adding provisions regarding solar energy systems in the town. Energy systems consists of roof-mounted, ground-mounted systems, and large commercial solar farms. This law was debated by the advisory committee consisting of 7 folks from the Preble Zoning Board, Planning Board, and Town Board. Also supporting us, the zoning advisory committee is Rich Andino, who's here tonight, municipal attorney from Costello, County and Huron, and Dan Deneen, who's the chair of the county planning board. And I'd like to now give the floor to Rich Andino to summarize this proposed law.
Sure. So each member of the board should have before it a number of various documents relative to proposed local law A of 2017. Our office drafted an introductory resolution. You have the copy of the local law itself, parts 1, 2, and 3 of the full environmental assessment form, because this is a type 1 action, and then a negative declaration form. So I'll just go through the introductory resolution quick. So like I said, this is a proposed local law A of 2017. It deals with solar energy systems in the town. This was a local law that, as Al indicated, the zoning advisory committee worked through and through multiple meetings, and discussions, settled on this as the law that they wanted to go to the town board. So like I said, this is a type 1 action for purposes of seeker, which required the preparation of a full environmental assessment form, which our office has worked on. The resolution introduces the law, issues a negative declaration for purposes of seeker, and goes through a number of different reasons supporting the negative declaration. And I'll just go through a couple of those right now. If adopted, local law A of 2017 will add new provisions regulating solar energy systems in the town to permit the construction of solar energy systems in a manner that preserves the health, safety, and welfare of the town, while also facilitating the production of renewable energy. In reviewing and regulating the placement and use of solar energy systems, the town has recognized that a carefully coordinated site plan review will be taken by the planning board for ground-mounted solar energy systems. The town's proposed regulations are designed to minimize the impact of such uses on the environment and surrounding properties while encouraging appropriate placement of those systems in the proper circumstances. So you can see those are on the third page of the introductory resolution. And it goes through basically how this law will minimize the environmental impacts of permitting certain energy systems within the town. So real quick, as Al said, there's the way the law breaks down the energy systems is defines them as building integrated, which the solar panels are built right into the structure itself. Ground mounted solar energy systems, those are the ones you see mounted on poles and panels that you see in your yard, essentially. And then you have the rooftop mounted, which are the ones like on the town hall here that go directly on top of the structure. So the committee, and then you have the solar farms, which are the large applications that take up multiple acres of property and essentially produce power that gets exported back to the grid. The committee decided that solar farms, the larger uses, would not be permitted within the town of Preble. The building integrated systems are allowed in every zoning district within the town. The rooftop mounted systems are permitted in every zoning district within the town, subject to a building permit and certain requirements that you'll see listed in the law. The ground mounted solar energy systems, the zoning committee decided to allow those in the R1 residential district, the ag district, commercial district, and light industrial districts of the town, but not permit those in the residential lakeside district of the town. And as I said, the solar farms are prohibited in every zoning district throughout the town for the reasons set forth on page 10 of the local law. And before we move on to seeker, I'll be happy to answer any questions that any members of the board might have. And again, the purpose of tonight's meeting is just to introduce the law. It'll set a public hearing for the September meeting, which then the public and anyone else can provide comments relative to what's been proposed.
Anybody have any questions from the board?
Just a small thing. It looked like there was a typo. So missing word. It's page 6. D. C. A tilted mount may be, and then it looks like it's missing a word. And
Should be permitted there. Thank
yeah,
you.
okay. I wasn't quite sure what it was supposed to say.
So I'll make sure that gets
Yep.
changed.
Okay. And then I guess I was unclear if D, then where they're talking about the providing space around the edge of the roof, applied only on flat roofs, or does that apply on?
It should apply to all roofs.
So, is that practical for a steep pitch roof? I guess that,
Yeah,
just,
you can look at that,
okay.
certainly.
So I was just a little confused by that
Sure.
as I read through it. So.
Yeah, and I think there's, we could also add in, if the board wished, you can add a provision where you can waive certain requirements, or if the applicant can demonstrate that it's not practical for that, width around the edge of the roof,
right,
that they could permit that, or say their roof is smaller and they need the extra space to add the panels.
Yeah, I'm just
Something
thinking
along
on
those
a steep pitch,
Sure.
you're not going to be walking around on it.
Right.
So,
The roof mounted systems that I've seen also have perimeter areas around it.
oh, right.
And some of them I've seen between panels.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand. But it's designed so that somebody can put a ladder on it, and
Yeah.
so it's more for attaching a ladder to it as opposed to being able to walk around. So
Mhm.
I was just I was just a little confused about
Yeah.
that because
Well,
it was adjacent to the flat roof discussion.
Yeah, I mean, and the intent is for safety purposes.
Yeah,
you
oh,
know, as you can
absolutely,
imagine, right?
absolutely, yeah.
I believe Homer has passed laws about solar farms. Don, has Homer passed? laws?
I don't know.
I saw it in the newspaper at one
Could be.
time. Yeah.
I know that they were in the process.
Yeah.
Because I was at
Yeah.
that meeting when they had their version of this meeting.
Yeah. And Solon too. I think a couple of towns have passed.
Someone has passed, no, they've not passed a law. They've passed a moratorium, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask before we go ahead with this, the board, do you think this is something that we need? Do you think this is something that we should move forward with?
I do.
You know, I mean, we've already heard, at least from one source, and I think actually from two, that there's people out there looking to put solar farms in Preble.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, the first person that was asked wasn't interested. But if we don't
Mm-hmm.
do something, we might find that we have a giant eyesore in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of our agriculture.
I do think we need regulations
Yeah. Absolutely.
and guidance as far as installations in this town.
And again, we
This
put
is
it
consistent
up to the people and
Yeah,
we see what they
public forum,
right. We put it up to them and see what they think.
And it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. What we've done here is consistent with the comprehensive plan as far as guidance of keeping the town character, of keeping our scenic landscapes and everything. We're not saying you can't do it. We're saying there are some things that are prohibited and others that are allowed within certain guidance.
So there are some very specific requirements in here, such as maximum size and so forth. And what was the guidance that was used for that? So the 15 kilowatt hour. I mean, where did that number come from? Where did the 25 come from? Are those?
Yeah, there's a number of model ordinances that have been published by different planning agencies in the area. So Central New York Regional Development Planning Board issued a model solar law. So they have certain definitions within those laws that talk about the size of the application relative to residential versus commercial, large scale, small scale. So everyone regulates it a little bit differently. We've had our office has worked on a number of these laws in other towns, and based on feedback from public hearings in those towns, we've modified and put different caps on how big it can be or how much power can be generated in residential areas or agricultural parcels, et cetera. So that's, we arrived at that number. It's not a hard number. Every town does something a little bit different.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand kind of where
However,
the number came from, because I mean, 15 is kind of, I would say, right on the border for being a practical.
Well, I've got a 14 kilowatt backup, which will, when we lose power, will run my whole house. It'll run air conditioning. It'll run my pump because I don't have water without my pump.
It's a small house, and it's just two of you.
It's a 1,300 square foot house.
That's what I mean.
But it will take care of all of our needs.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but
I mean,
he's
and it's
seeing a
based
family
on
of 4 or 5.
normally-
Exactly. I'm just saying that 15 seems to be kind of a little bit tight, and I was just wondering kind of where it came from, and so I mean, because I looked at solar for my house, and I know what my specs were. And they
What
were
would
bumping
yours
right
be
up.
for your house?
Mine would have bumped right up to 15. So, and again, my house is two of us. We don't use that much electricity. I could imagine a larger family with a larger home could want something a little bit bigger. And so I was just, what was the engineering or scientific basis for that?
And again, that's the size of the systems that you want to permit is a policy decision for, the town board to make.
Okay.
I know that the
I mean,
whole,
it'd be great to know if like 80% of home resident applications fit below 15 kilowatt hours. Okay, fine. 80%, boom, we're good. Or whatever that number is, that would be great to know, as opposed to, hey, we just picked a number.
Well, we didn't pick this one. We just didn't grab it out of the air.
Okay, well, that's what I meant.
With their expertise and the laws that they've put in place, this seemed to be about right.
and the other reason too was to because the zoning committee doesn't want the proliferation of these systems, even the ground mounted in like in a backyard. So by limiting it to 15, you're saying, all right, we're going to allow some renewable energy systems within the town, while at the same time limiting any aesthetic impacts you might have from, having a large system to, power a large house. And one of the requirements right in there talks about the solar energy has to be produced primarily for use on site. And the applicant should demonstrate when they're applying, here's how much power I typically use. That way you can make sure that this isn't some type of commercial enterprise.
Oh, right. Absolutely. No, it
But
was just, I wasn't against the philosophy
Yeah.
of it. It was just like, how did we get to that number? Is that just an arbitrary number? Is that a number? And so what you're saying is it's a heuristic number. It came from kind of other organizations.
Yep.
It wasn't based on data per se.
Yeah, and I mean, other engineering in other towns, the engineers have done a review of the laws and, it's really a policy determination. If you want, additional power for larger houses, you can bump that number up. And so some have gone up to 25 in residential areas. Others have done 15. It's
Would
just
that take a variance at that point, or?
Yeah, you could do a variance, or the board could amend the local law if they're starting to see applicants come in and, most of their power usage is 25 kilowatts for a typical single family home. You could say, all right, this law isn't meeting the needs of our residents. We can still regulate it while also allowing an additional kilowattage.
So I wonder if like National Grid could give us the data, because I mean, they send out the data that says, here's how much power everybody in your neighborhood uses, and you're higher
Just
or
like the
lower.
neighbors across my street, they got 6 kids at home, and 2 adults, and there's people there all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
if
sure
National Grid gave us some guidance on it, then we could have a defensible position. What I don't want to be in the position if somebody walks in, as
I need
in some of our other special meetings, and say,
I
you
need
people
20.
are idiots.
Yeah, 15.
Might I suggest that while that's something good to research, that we go ahead with what we're doing here so we can get this on the books. And if we determine at a later date that we need to bump this up, we can always bump it up.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely. I'm
revise it.
Again,
But-
I was just trying to understand where it was coming from
Okay.
and what we could do to like bolster that or whatever. Not
However,
trying to decide.
it just seems imperative to get something on the books fairly quickly. And, we've got most of our ducks in place now with this one. I'd like to go forward with it and revisit it at a later date if we have an issue. I personally don't think that, 15 kilowatts is a lot of power. And you're not running your whole house on this all the time. You're not running, if you're running 15 kilowatts all the time, that's a lot of energy usage. It is.
I know.
And so that's why I say, being a retired electrical engineer in the power system area, I just kind of think that what we have will address what our needs, our present needs. And if it's determined that, we have a lot of people coming in saying, hey, we gotta do something, we gotta change something, then I think we can, get the board together and make a change to it.
Well, it's all going to go on the public hearing anyways. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
that's going to let us know where we're going to be standing if we got a few irate people that say,
Well, we also have another month to gather information.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, certainly. So all this does is introduce the law.
Mhm.
So if you have the public hearing and you get feedback and there's certain changes that you want to make, those can be made, and you just
exactly.
further the public hearing
Yep.
or schedule a different date
Exactly.
to enact it. Sure.
Okay, so it appears that the board, you're on with this too, Dave.
for up to the public hearing.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
then-
absolutely.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the board would like to move forward on this. So we would make a resolution for a public hearing.
Yeah, so just before the board does that, I just want to go through seeker real quick, just that way we're, crossing all our T's and dotting our I's. So as I said, you should have parts 1, 2, and 3 of the full EAF before you, as well as a negative declaration form. So as I said, the part one deals with the project details. So this is, not a particular project, it's a piece of legislation, so there's not as much information to go through. But again, it's proposed local law A that deals with solar energy systems in the town. The town board is the lead agency. It's the only board that can enact local laws within the town of Preble. The GML referral, general municipal law referral, has already been made to county planning. Their meeting is on August 16th. So in light of that strange date from 14th to 16th here, we sent that to them in anticipation of it being introduced here tonight. And I will send a follow-up letter tomorrow confirming that it was introduced. That way, at least it could be considered by the planning board at their August 16th meeting, because you need to wait 30 days for a response from county planning. So that has been taken care of. And again, this is local law primarily deals with the administrative or legislative adoption of a local law, and that's the only action that's taking place. There's no specific application before the board. So for purposes of part two, the impacts that this action will have, each one of the questions has been answered with a no impact. If the board has any disagreements or would like to change any of those to having an impact on the environment, just let me know and we can make those changes and discuss that. If not, we can move on to part three.
Anybody have any questions on part two?
So part three is the determination of significance. Which upon information reported in the EAF, the town board has determined that project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared and a negative declaration is issued. And again, I've got the negative declaration form that the board should have before it with reasons supporting the determination. And relative to the proposed prohibition of solar farms in the zoning districts, you can see in page 10 and 11 of the solar law that the reasons as to why solar farms have been prohibited in those districts is supported by your comprehensive plan and provisions within your zoning ordinance.
Any questions? Anything that was said?
I have a comment, I guess, because two of us won't be here next month. I'm not sure that that's the best time for a public hearing. Since you have so much to do with it, I think you should be here
Can
to
we have
answer
a special
questions.
meeting then? Before then?
That's a possibility, but I don't think that we can have a, public hearing when you're not
Right.
here to
I would agree with that.
answer the questions that might come up.
I would propose
How many
then that
days
we
you
have
gonna
a special meeting
So,
sometime before then.
I think the notice probably has to be 5 days.
5 days, yep.
but I was going to, so you mentioned that we have to wait 30 days for the planning or
For
for the
county
county.
planning, yeah.
So the soonest we could act anyway would be mid-September, which is after our
Meeting
regular
anyways.
meeting.
Well, we had sent that. Hold on.
So Dan Deneen is part of our group.
No, I
He
understand.
chairs that.
Mhm.
He knows what was coming down. He was anticipating it going down to them. So even though that was their rule, he said, you get it to me, we'll look at it.
Right.
Basically.
Which means that after the meeting, I'll have a.
So they have their
You'll
meeting August 16th.
Yeah.
You'll have a
Answer.
determination after the 16th. Most
Yeah.
likely. I'm not
No, I
gonna
understand.
talk for him, but
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe you're right though. Yeah.
Well,
What's
I
a
mean-
month gonna I mean, what is a month gonna cost us? I mean,
well, it's
How
It'll be
long,
more than a month.
how long are you in Sicily? When do you
I
come
don't,
back?
I don't have my phone with me. I have the dates out in the car.
You know, I mean,
The
'cause
12th, and I think it's 12 days,
Beginning.
beginning the 12th of September.
Oh,
you know, because theoretically, we could have a special meeting after you get back, which would be before the October meeting, but it would be not. You know,
We had discussed at this advisory meeting that we might be able to do something before everyone disbands and goes their separate ways. So, I don't know.
I mean, I think doing it right, you know, at the end of August is also not particularly fair to the townspeople.
Anybody's
Lots of people on
finishing up
vacation.
vacation or whatever.
What, to have a
Except
meeting
it's
then?
You're
September.
not giving them very much time. to
Everybody's
look at it.
back for school.
So you want to do it after our September meeting?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
You know, I think then hopefully we can all be here.
Right, you're gonna answer more questions. Obviously, you've gone through this.
You know, that's,
Okay.
I mean, unless you wanted to do it like right after Labor Day, like the 6th or 7th of September.
Yeah, that week isn't good.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
I just
we-
think the last week of August is like.
We'd almost rather
when we,
right into
when we
September
met, we were
meeting.
talking about all, the people on the committee, we're talking about all the goings-ons and commitments and things, and that's why we thought a special meeting sooner rather than later would be better.
How about the Monday after our board meeting in September?
So the 18th. is not bad.
he's not
Oh,
back.
he's not back? Okay. Get back on 20 something?
24th,
24th, okay. How about the following Monday after that? That would be
It's the
the
25th.
25th? Would you think?
Okay,
Are you gonna be back by then?
I'd have to look, I didn't bring my phone in,
Okay.
it's got the calendar.
Is there any other meetings here scheduled on the 25th? The fourth Monday of the month? Planning board, zoning board, court,
No,
No.
it's available, the town hall's available.
yes.
So we're talking about 24th, 25th, you said?
25th.
What date did you say?
Monday the
September
25th,
25th.
At 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
25th.
I'll let you know. I'm pretty sure
Well,
that's okay.
So we can't make
Well,
can we make
why
a
don't you go-
resolution?
I was gonna say, why don't you go grab your
Well,
phone,
yeah.
since we're trying to
I'll
schedule
be
it
right
around.
back. I'll be right back.
Okay.
That's why we need intern, send your intern out, right? So we're basically approving the seeker tonight, is that what we're doing?
That's correct, yeah.
7th through the 18th. I'll be gone.
Okay. So the 25th is good for you?
Yep.
Okay.
Just make sure that that meeting gets noticed as well
Yeah.
as a special meeting.
Mhm. Okay,
Well, is this for the public hearing or a
This is-
special meeting?
public
Public
hearing.
hearing.
This is a public hearing.
Right. Right. So we need a resolution to have a public hearing?
I make a resolution that we have a public hearing on the zoning law A 2017 for 9:25 at 7 PM.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
My,
Carried. Okay, do we need to do anything more on this topic?
I would just make a motion to adopt the resolution that
Okay,
The
we
seeker.
put before you for purposes of seeker and introducing the proposed local law.
Okay, I
You can
make a
use this- you
resolution,
can use the same first and second. I would,
I make a resolution to accept to make the, resolution here, to accept this resolution for local law A, 2017.
I think you're passing a resolution
Yeah.
adopting a negative declaration
Right.
and accepting the draft local law for possible enactment. And I think you're also ratifying its referral to county planning, which has already taken place. But I think you ought to ratify that too.
and
So
I'm
there's
going,
three pieces to that motion.
I'm going to be submitting a follow-up letter to county planning indicating the date of the public hearing, et cetera. So I'll be submitting another submission to them.
So you said, Don, a resolution to ratify that we sent this local law
It's been
to
referred
county
to county
planning.
planning
I make that resolution.
that you are adopting a negative declaration as a result of your seeker. And that you're accepting this proposed ordinance or local law to
Pending a
consider,
public hearing.
pending public hearing to consider for enactment.
What you said.
I'll
And all
second it.
those items are listed within the resolution.
we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I-
Carried.
Okay, I will make sure that materials get sent out to county planning and that the public hearing gets properly noticed and posted on your signboard in the
Okay.
newspaper.
Very good.
We should be all
They
set.
have, they have email too, so you want to get it on
Yeah,
the email
can you forward that stuff to,
or the website.
Yeah, I will email everything to the town clerk.
okay.
Is that okay?
Jane, can you forward that to me?
Mhm.
Great.
Okay. Thanks for coming, Rich.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, unfinished business, highway garage. Jeff, can you give us an update on what's going on?
Yeah, the biggest thing, of course, they started on the 24th, laid it out. 26th started doing digging the holes, and within a few days, they had all the posts out of the ground. Thursday night, the trusses were delivered. Talked to them today. They're looking, as long as the weather's good, it's gonna get windy. They're gonna hang the trusses tomorrow. They even have the roof on it by the end of the week.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's gonna really start taking shape. I highly recommend at least every couple days you drive by or just stop in. Really decent guys, very cognizant of their work, and I think they're doing a real nice job. They seem to work well together. That says a lot. I didn't hear any,
Yeah. Very, very professional guys. And
yeah, I didn't hear the expletives for anything. So I've been down there every day, 2-3 times a day, just milling around. I'm not looking over your shoulder, but I'm here. Okay, so take it for what it's worth. But so yeah, that's happening. Like I say, they plan on setting all the trusses in one day, and the trusses are just shy of 70 feet long, so it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
So, any questions?
So are we on schedule, Jeff, according to your,
We're well ahead of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, that's good.
They, when they were digging, they found one piece of concrete that was unanticipated. It took them over 2 hours to dig one hole, but thank God that was the only piece that
Mhm,
kind of found its way in a bad
Mhm.
spot.
mhm.
But other than the gravel that's in there, the guy had to take his bit home the first night and put more hard facing on it.
Mhm.
It's pretty good stuff down there. So it ate up his auger pretty good. But, yeah, so so far so good.
Okay.
It's looking well.
Thanks, Jeff.
Gotcha.
Next item on unfinished business is the deed to the property on this property of the town hall. And Don has been working on this. Don?
Jim, as we talked about this morning, I think we've gotten approval from the attorney for Homer Schools. We had an email discussion about whether board approval would be required from the school district standpoint. He didn't think it was required, which should allow this now to move forward without any further delay. Hopefully, in a couple of weeks' time, we have the deed delivered to us.
Okay.
That's the way it looks. So we had put a draft deed together. He made a couple minor changes, and I think we're good to go.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Don.
Yeah, and on that, you were wondering about the, which is why we're doing the deed, has to do with the postal lease, right?
Mine.
I mean, the last entry I see in our notes was from last December. So you're indicating we may not be getting the rental payment?
No, well, Jane gets it or I get it.
And I send it to Gina.
And
Okay.
so I'm just checking. No, I think we're getting it. It's just
Okay.
that between Jane and I, we don't know who got it this month. So we're going to have to just check with Gina as far as that's concerned, just to verify.
Yeah, because as of December of last year, we were receiving $538.17 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, we were going to get an increase, but we're not going to get that increase until we show them we own the place.
Right.
So,
And we actually got a check 2 months ago for $1,400 or $1,800. Jeff, I showed you the check. Remember?
Had me here that day. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
And so I was kind of wondering what that was for. I thought I might get a notice on it from the Postal Service explaining it, but I don't seem to have an explanation. So I think that might be part of this increase, this $150 a month. So we're going to have to dig into that too. But Jan and I can take care of that.
okay.
So Jim, on old business, speaking of Gina, we were going to kind of talk with her about getting caught up and alternatives and so forth. Any luck with that?
I've been talking with Gina about that, and I asked her for some kind of a plan on her end, and so right now her son is trained for payroll, but I think that's all he's trained for. So as far as the other things that Gina does, she's still working on a plan for that, for some kind of succession planning on her part.
How about actually getting the reports that we're supposed to be getting?
Our annual report.
Well, no. I'm just talking about our monthly reports.
Yeah.
But I guess the annual report too, right?
Yeah, she's just about done with that. It should be done by tomorrow. She had a few pieces of information that she had to call about. But again, this annual report was due on March 30th. And here we are in August. And she's still finishing it up. So these are things that we have to keep in mind as we move forward.
It just makes it difficult to look at our
Run a
budget.
business.
Yes, absolutely.
Run a
For next
business.
year, so I'm just trying to
Absolutely.
understand kind of how we can be better prepared so that
Right.
we don't surprise people with a big tax bill again.
Right. Well, that has to do with the budget. I'll be
Yeah.
getting together with Gina with the budget exercise in October, another 2 months.
Yeah.
Maybe less than 2 months.
Yeah, you're very well.
So we'll be talking about that. And then when I sit down, that's one time of the year that I actually get to sit with Gina for about 3 hours to go over this budget, and I can ask her all kinds of questions. And so I can probe a little bit deeper on this topic. But she knows that we're aware of it. She knows that we're thinking of succession planning as it has to do with her. And I'm sure that she would want to have it done in a way that is compatible to her also and what she does.
Okay.
So it's sort of a process that we're working on right now. Okay, we received $112,805.80 from Q2 sales tax for the county. And I believe that was a little bit more than what was expected. And this would be a good time to introduce Don for the night, our county legislator. Don, you have something to say to us?
Well, yeah. We're working hard on our budget, trying to get our fiscal house in order. That's going to be very tough this year to stay under the cap and try to please everybody. And I can tell you, I might well tell you right up front that sales tax will be a part of the overall discussion. We're looking into everything, every department, every way we can to hold the property tax down. That's all I got to say on that. So,
Donna, I'm reading in the newspaper that they're saying that the county is projecting an 8 to 9% increase in property taxes for next year. Is that true?
there's been no decision on that yet. Until we actually get the budget put together and see what we can cut. We're looking at cuts. We're looking hopefully to come up with an overall maybe a 10% cut. I doubt that we can achieve 10%, but maybe we can get somewhere near that. It's going to be tough. Our debt and deficits are the biggest problem that the county has.
And you told us at one point that Cortland County is $37 million in debt.
37 million, and by adding the smart watt project and stuff to that, we're up to about 40 million now. Gotta stop. Gotta stop bonding and borrowing. Successful will be at that, I don't know. We have legislators that like to spend money, as you know, but we're trying to pull the reins in quite a bit on that and still maintain our infrastructure and stuff that's in bad need of repair. County office building, the courthouse.
Did you have to bond to do the roads this year?
We bond every year,
1.9 million?
1.6,
1.6?
but we may not this year. The extra state funding that we got might help us out on that. I don't know.
It's $372,000 a year.
Yeah. It might help us out on that. We have to look at where we can make cuts and what we can do with it. We really don't want to hit the taxpayer. So we're really working tough on that. And we're always open to any suggestions that anybody might have.
What's the current status on the jail right now?
Current status of the jail right now is we're just on hold, or you can call it suspended. It's not stopped. We just cannot stop the project. I mean, we'd have corrections right down around our necks if we did that. They want to see some movement forward, so hopefully we just put a hold on it for now until we find out exactly what we can do with our budget. The jail is not a part, adding on to the jail or a new jail is not a part of this budget at this time. To figure out whether we can put save more money toward it, at least to get startup cost or something into reserve. I just sent our jail assessment committee a 210-page study from Tompkins County to look at other alternatives. That's going to keep them busy for a couple minutes, I'm sure.
Can I ask you what the current status is of the recycling center?
Current status of the recycling center. We got the last report this last week. Okay, it cost us $93,000 to recoup 14. That's your status. Recyclables are just not, they're just not paying anything. It costs you about cost you about $20,000 a month just to run it with trucking. Then by the time you pay the SWIFT charge of $70 a ton, before you make a nickel, it's killing you.
Mhm.
So hopefully we can find a solution on how to cover that deficit.
Okay. Any more news on the landfill?
There isn't any more news on that, per se. Well, landfill and recycling all kind of run
Mhm.
together.
Right.
If it wasn't for the deficit that we're carrying in the recycling end of it,
Mhm.
the landfill would just about be breaking even. But it's getting to the point up there where the equipment is wore out. I mean, they've run it just about as far as it's going to run. The packers, they're in bad need of new wheels. And I think that was needed back when you were in, and they were talking about having to buy wheels. You still are.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. Any other questions for Don?
I would like to say.
No, I
one
feel
more
bad
thing.
now. Don't ask him anymore. Lord.
It's been a pleasure being a legislator for all of you. With John's help and Jim's help, I got signatures enough so I can run another term. I would really like to do that. I don't know how many of you know, I'm sure there's some of you that do, that I haven't only been serving as your legislator, I've also been serving as your chairman of the legislature. I've also been serving as the acting administrator. I've also been serving as your treasurer until we had a new one elected. And I'm still his deputy. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I hope I've earned your support to run another term.
Thanks a lot, Don.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Is there stats out there, there must be, as far as the versus the population of a county and how many people we're carrying on social services versus the actual population that's paying in? You ever seen that?
Yes, we do have those stats.
I'd be real curious. Where do we stand in other counties as far as that ratio, if you will? Any ideas?
We're about, we're a little bit higher than some of the counties. Of course, as I say, when you really have to break it down into different services that we provide that other counties don't.
Okay, maybe someday I'll get in touch with you. I'd like to look at that.
I can get those stats for you.
Appreciate it.
Sure. I can get you the whole book if you'd like it for Kristen, to give you the whole breakdown of everything.
How many pages is that?
It's
The
another
ones you put
book.
out, it's only about like
Oh,
this. So you
look
can
at
read
it.
that.
I'll get
about
your
an hour.
copy.
Okay,
Okay, fair enough.
any other questions?
I got one, Don.
Sure.
Do you think you guys could do like our town board does, alternate your terms out and go with a 4-year term versus a 2-year term? Because I think some of your people are afraid to make a decision, to be honest with you.
I agree with you.
And how would we go about changing it?
That would have to go to a public referendum.
Bring it up at one of your meetings and then
We can bring it up, make a motion to do a public referendum to do that.
you just alternate half of you out a 4-year term, just like we do here.
Mhm.
Because I really believe that some of your,
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Because it takes you 1 year just to figure out what's going on, how to,
Mhm.
what's going on. It takes you 2 years really to settle in.
and you're on more than one project. I know
You're
that.
on more than one project, you're on several,
Yep.
okay? And by the time you finished your second, or started to complete your second year, you're up to run again. And we lose good people.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I would fully support a 4-year term.
And I don't know how you would do the split, whether it's just top vote better. I mean, it don't matter because if you do your job the first 2 years, you're gonna get reelected on the first group, and then you would get on to your 4-year term after that.
Don, he could help us figure it out, I'm sure.
Love to.
He's pretty good at that.
Thanks, Don, for throwing me the shark.
I think you could alternate quite a lot like you do in town board.
Yeah, it's simple here. I mean, because you got 2 people on, you know, they know, you know, for the last 4 years.
So how would we do that, Don? Would we, as a board, make that proposal to the legislature?
You could make that proposal to the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
I would forward that to them,
Mm-hmm.
so you would have it. That would have to go before the county attorney. I'm pretty sure it would have to go to the county attorney in order to do the formality of a referendum.
And I think once one town board did it, maybe a lot of others would jump.
I heard this more than once from different legislators up to set on the legislature. That they would like to see a 4-year term. But I think it would be a great help if you had the support of the towns that were kind of pushing that too. Don't you, Don? Or
No, I agree that would make a difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that something we want to make a resolution on tonight?
I don't know why not. I mean,
Go ahead. You
make a resolution to have the county legislatures go on a 4-year term, alternating half of them out every 2 years. Yeah, worded right?
That'll work. No, and I'm perhaps asking Jim to, now I'm throwing you to the sharks, but fashion a letter to forward it on to the county legislator,
No, I can do that.
legislatures,
Yeah.
asking that to be, them to consider that.
I believe this September.
I would second it if you need a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried? Okay,
By unanimous.
good. So after it goes into our minutes, I can write a letter to the legislature
On behalf of the board.
on behalf of the board, right?
If we could get some other town supervisors to support that and do the same,
Mm-hmm.
everyone would help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe a letter to the editor would help too, right?
Never
Would
hurt.
hurt.
Describing our viewpoint here.
Never hurt.
John?
Question. Could flow control help landfill and the recycling center?
I would say it would help if everybody complied.
You could put it on as a referendum. On the ballot.
Is it too late to do it this fall?
What was the question?
I know it's coming up on the floor this session.
It's something to think about, because I think Madison County's been quite successful with it.
Madison County, yep.
Even when I was down there, they could not get enough support to support flow control.
I think we got the same problem. I was very surprised.
Probably, I wouldn't be surprised. That's been ruled by the Supreme Court in the USA that it's legal. When a county or community needs that product to run a certain company situation, and that's been approved by the Supreme Court. It was done about 12 years ago.
Yeah, we got the law written by the same guy.
Okay.
It's all ready to go. All we gotta do is get it through.
All right.
Do we have any more public comments? Renee, you said you
Well, I
wanted to-
have a question, I guess.
Okay.
A couple months back, I had inquired about some funding and some grants in terms of looking at some playground equipment. So that brought me back in 2012, when I had asked some questions in regards to our park and what the rules and regulations were and how it came apart. And then someone had dropped off a donation check to me a couple weeks back actually, and was still under the impression that our park was donated by the Rouse. And I gave you all copies of the deed, the minutes, and the referendum that was actually done on our part. And as I was going through it, I noticed that the town actually purchased the park from the Rolfs for a nice little chunk of money. I think it was $32,000 and some change for 14 acres down there. And as I was looking at the paperwork, I also noticed that in the referendum that we actually, the town had gotten a state grant aid for 3/4 of that and applied for that. And it was approved through them, the town, to go ahead and get money to purchase the park. So Don, I guess part of this comes back to you as the town attorney. If the park was purchased with state aid money, would it not still be allowed for funding to do like playground equipment or other equipment to be able to do
I know of
purchasing
no,
like that?
I
Or
know of no reason why the manner in which it was obtained would affect what funding we could apply for.
because my understanding is that because it was a town park, which is, according to what I'm reading, and I may be wrong, you have the same paperwork in front of you, that it's not technically a private park, it is a neighborhood park, and it's supposed to be following the guidelines of what the state has, and I can't find the wording right now because I put my paperwork away, that it's supposed to be open, and that you'll still be able to do some funding and some grants through the state with that.
I don't know if this answers your question, but my view is, first of all, this is town property. It's maintained for a particular purpose or set of purposes. It's within the province of the town board to, set rules for the use of that property. There were no limitations placed that I'm aware of at the time it was acquired. And I know there's been some discussion about that in the past. Call it a town park. I don't know it is a town park in my view, but I don't know that necessarily has legal connotations beyond the fact that this is town property made available for use by the public under certain limitations overseen by and established by the town board. It's not a state property. It's not, I'm sure there's some state regulations that might apply, but it's the town park. And again, I don't know that with that, I don't know of any specific limitations that would prohibit pursuing funding. Again, maybe those funding sources might set some limitations that would in some way prohibit us, but I don't know if that answers your question or
So
not.
Don,
Well, I think it does in some degree.
let me just say that regardless of whether the land was donated or whether we bought it is immaterial.
I think so. I think you're right. Joe.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to the town board is it applicable, or am I allowed to continue to move forward to look at some grants that are either state or governmental that would allow us to go ahead and get some more funds towards the playground? I mean, like Del Monte has grants to help the community. There's other grants that are out there through different companies that would help us fund a new playground down there. And is that something that I can look into for funding for the playground?
I would think the board would want to encourage you to
Yeah,
Absolutely.
pursue
Absolutely.
whatever grants that are available.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to the person writing a grant that's going to say, you got to do this, you got to do that. And then we can say we want it or we don't want it or
Right.
want to apply for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if there's some strings attached to it, we may all decide that. it's
Yeah,
not
if they want the
worthwhile.
name Del Monte on this slide, I think that's going to be a problem.
Right.
Yeah, but you don't know till you ask.
Right, that's right.
Right. So I would say the board gives you the freedom to pursue whatever grants you wish. And if you think that there is some kind of, if you think that any of the grants could be controversial, just present them to the board and let us know.
Okay.
We can decide.
And I'll bring them forward to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Can I just say something? After the park was purchased, there would have been state funding if the park had been developed as the Preble would have been funded 1/2 the cost of development of the park, there were total development plans for the park. And that was through the state, so there would have been state funding available for that. It just went for a vote and it just did not pass in Preble. So in other words, the park development did not pass in Preble. But that would have been state funding. If it had passed in Preble, the state funding would have been what would have funded.
There could have been certain stipulations to those grants that the people at that time didn't want to adhere to. And that's why they voted it down. That was back in the 70s, wasn't
Yes,
it? Yeah,
I don't know why it was. voted
right,
down.
right.
I don't have anything that says it was voted
But,
down.
well, like we said, if there's a soda company that wants to give you money, but we have to put a soda machine in the park,
Right.
there's something like that, you would come to us and say, this is the deal. Do we want to take this or not? So, okay, so you can go ahead and pursue grants. Yeah. Any other questions or comments for the board? Sue Wright, I want to ask you a question. You and Deb Putman are working together
Yes.
as far as like a seamless transition for you becoming secretary, right, of the zoning and planning board.
Yes.
But nothing has happened that's concrete quite yet. You're still working on that.
Well, my understanding with Deb is that, as soon as I'm ready, and maybe September, I would be taking over.
Okay.
Now, so that is, I believe, her goal. I mean, I do have to meet with her once again to really get the hang of her computer system and how to do
Right.
things on the website and things like that.
Okay.
Um,
The last time I talked to Deb, I asked her that when she was ready to send the board a letter of resignation, then the board would have to accept that letter of resignation, and then we can appoint you to fill in. So that's how the process would go. So we would be waiting for her letter of resignation.
I remember you talking to her about
Yeah,
that.
and we haven't received anything yet.
You haven't received anything. Okay.
I haven't. Maybe Jane has.
Well, then
No?
I would say that
Okay.
I'll work with Deb, until you actually get that letter.
Right. And I had mentioned that however you guys work that out is up to you.
Okay, I'll give her an email and just let her know
Okay.
that, which is fine with me because I do, I think I do need a little bit more. The computer was acting up the day that we worked together.
Okay. Thanks, Sue. Anybody else? Questions or comments on anything? Okay. So we need a motion to pay the general fund vouchers.
Make a motion, pay general fund vouchers abstracts number 8, numbers 184 to 203, totaling $10,032.63.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. We need a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers.
Make a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers abstract number 8, number 64 to 79, totaling $34,548.43.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right,
Carried. Need a motion to adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.